Here we go.
Cool. All right. Marty, how's your day?
Hey, Josh, doing well. How's
Yeah.
yours? Yeah,
So
likewise.
far, so good. Good news for my industry. I'm in the residential construction industry at 11:30 this morning. After 4 weeks of us staying at home, hoping for common sense from our governor, we finally had the building industry continue to push forward. And I think it was, BIAW, several unions were on board saying this is
Mhm.
just totally arbitrary, unreasonable, not science-based. We need to go back to work. So it took a good effort to make sure finally that our governor starts to listen to the people of the state.
I completely agree, but think about this for a second. What are they doing now? A month into the shutdown, the stay home, stay healthy, right? First of all, that you can have certain sectors of construction fine, but not residential and so forth, right? Now they get groups together where stakeholders in the building, the unions, and whatever, and come up with a safe way to do it. We could have done this a month ago. The idea
Yeah.
here is this is what's been should have been going on the entire time when it comes to housing. You're talking today about a 200,000 unit shortage in the state. This is
Yep.
a problem that didn't happen overnight, didn't happen during COVID. It's been there. So yeah, leadership
Definitely in
in
the
a
work.
vacuum.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to go back. That impacts so many families, but obviously there's a lot of people that are still out of work that have deemed non-essential. And a dear friend of both of ours, Dave McMullen, he and his
Mhm.
wife have been delivering meals to 100 families a week. And he's just sharing heartbreaking stories of people who can't pay, obviously, their rent, their mortgage, but they're not able to buy their groceries because they're not getting their unemployment checks from their job that was deemed
Mhm.
non-essential. And Inslee's not paying attention to that.
Well, the state is saying they're estimating that at the end of this, where we're coming up to, hopefully, that there'll be over 1 million people applying for unemployment benefits in the state of Washington. That is insane, especially in
Yeah.
such a short period of time. A buddy of mine got laid off as well and just got a job with employment security because they're so busy with all the claims going on. So I'm good for him. He got a job, but it's in the wrong place, right? When you have 1 million people filing for unemployment, we're doing something severely wrong. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, everyone who's jumped on already, we are joined with Marty McClendon, which is a great pleasure for me. I'm super excited about it. I've heard a little bit about your potential of jumping into the race, and now you're a week in to running for lieutenant governor. Darn exciting.
it is exciting. It's like anything. If those that know me and those that don't know me, we don't do anything sort of rash. We always pray about it first, make sure that's the right thing to do, make sure it's right for the family.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, I ran for lieutenant governor in 2016, and it was they're like, "Why are you running for a statewide office? And nobody knows who you are." I said, "Look, this state is getting bad. Taxes out up the yin yang. People are not being heard. I grew up in Eastern Washington, and those values aren't being shared over here. It's all Seattle, Seattle, Seattle. I guarantee you, if someone has conservative values, is able to articulate them, the rest of the state will get behind them because we've never given a statewide sort of Eastern Washington rooted person a chance. And they're like, no, no, no way. So we had 11 people in our race. There was the favorites on the Republican side. Of course, there was 3 heavily favored Democrats, and lo and behold, won the primaries. That was the Republican nominee. Came up a little short in King County, but I think we won 38 counties out of 39.
Oh,
But
goodness.
lost in King, and I think we spent 100,000 total. So obviously, this time around, we're better known. We have a radio show across Eastern Washington. Clearly, people are on our side. It's not waiting till the primary. We're saying, no, we can win this. And things have only gotten worse. Not only has the last 4 years been increased taxes, but bigger government, more intrusion. People are frustrated. So we're excited.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, compare contrast just 3, 4 years ago. I talked to a lot of people that voted for Jay Inslee 4 years ago, and they said there is
Mhm.
no way they'll vote for him again because they're looking back at their party, the Democrat Party, and they're saying, I don't even recognize what it is today. It's
Mhm.
evolved so quickly over 3 or 4 years. What do you see as the differences between 3, 4 years ago versus this election season?
There were always those 3 or 4 years ago that were in favor of a carbon tax or in favor of an income tax or favor, but they were in the minority. And you've lost all when you have 4 years ago they raided the rainy day fund for no reason. We had a surplus. We had a surplus every session now, and they want to raise taxes. And you're like, why? There's no rational case to it. And then you go to the social issues, like this last session where they passed the comprehensive sex education in the middle of the morning. The previous one is they're doing things, even though the public and the input from all across the state is don't do this, whether it be the hairdressers or whether it be moms or whatever. It's almost like you know what? We don't know. We know better than you, so we're going to make decisions that actually affect the state. So people are frustrated. I think it's gotten a lot more bombastic, a lot more sort of in your face than it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you could certainly see that kind of attitude on Twitter, and just people are a little bit more bitter. It seems like more division. But my hope is that a lot of people are looking for some clear solutions that weren't there last year. They were hoping that, or 4 years ago, Jay Inslee was promising solutions, of which obviously he's not come through with. We've seen unemployment drastically increase, where now we have 21,000 homeless a night in Washington state, 40,000 youth experience homelessness every year, and crime has exponentially increased. And just looking back a few years, you would not even have any ounce of a concern really to go downtown Seattle. And now they lock the doors to the courthouse on Third Avenue because
it's not safe enough to go downtown. Right. Because of the needles on the street, because of the defecation, you name it. And you're right. And that's policy. And I always talk about this. Bad policy leads to these unsafe conditions. You know, the one thing we want to do, we want to raise our kids. We want to have safe neighborhoods. We want to be able to, basically not have to lock our doors if we have to. Those days are gone, and those are all policy positions by those in King County, those at Seattle City Council, and those from Jay Inslee and the government. You know, I even after 2016, when we had our loss, the very first thing my opponent and the current lieutenant governor, who's stepping down, which is good, he's banned guns in the gallery, right? And he said, I'm going to go after, this is my agenda. I'm going to go after, your gun rights. And so we know that it's an agenda-driven party right now. It's a majority. And they've been in the majority for 30 years, so.
Yeah. Give the Republicans a try here. We believe in fiscal responsibility, that we believe that leaving more money in your hands that you've earned and worked for rather than giving in government's hands. Because like you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, I think in the last 10 days, 580,000 people have applied for unemployment. You're saying it might be up to 1 million. That's pretty wild. And so when you depend on government for a quick response, obviously it's not coming. So what are some of the issues that you're focusing on and in your campaign?
There are so many different things we can cover, but the great thing, and for those that don't know, lieutenant governor is a unique position, and oftentimes it's overlooked because people typically stay in a position for a long time, but you're both legislative and executive. So you have a staff and you can work on the issues that are your platform. You basically choose. On the legislative side of things, you can work through bills. I mean, you run the floor, you work with both sides, you get things out of committee, you bring solutions, which is fantastic, which I've done 21 years in real estate, right? This is what I do, working with opposing sides, trying to find solutions. But on the executive level, I can go, what am I going to work on? And you point to 41 different boards. One of those is the Building Code Commission, right? So if you're talking about how expensive housing is right now, when a quarter to a third of all costs, as you know this, right, is regulations and red tape. If we're looking about affordable housing, we need to be reducing that and making it easier for people to build houses so people can get into them. But my passionate spot, there's a bunch of them, but the first thing, and I've been thinking about it for years, is really our education system. We're failing our kids. We have the same education system in place that we had since World War II. Okay, think about this. They spent $8 billion extra dollars in the last 6 years through the McClittery and extra funding and so forth, right? Our graduation rates are still 80%. 1 in 5 students still don't graduate. On top of that, even all our kids across all grade levels, doesn't matter what it is, in public schools, 50%, less than 50% are at grade level for math, less than 50% grade level for science, and just over 50% for English. Think about this. We are failing. And then on top of that, my passion, I grew up, my dad was a construction worker, cowboy, my brother's a millwright, and I get it. I've seen how it saves people's lives. The trade industry says they're predicting 7.1 million jobs unfilled and available right now before COVID-19 that need to be filled. No one has the skills to do it. And yet we're pushing every kid, you must go to college. The numbers are deplorable when you think about what that actually is. It's appropriate for a third, right? But what about the other 2/3? Right now, the volume of people that go to college, 50% graduate, and then they go, and when they graduate, they're saddled with an immense amount of debt.
Absolutely.
So what I really want to focus on is exposing to the trades, to workshops, auto shop, wood shop, all the stuff we grew up with, but at an earlier age. And right now we've got this thing called Core 24. Basically, it's the new requirements to graduate. Well, you know, if you fail one class, you have no room for electives. So they give this big lip service about CTE and apprenticeships and that kind of stuff, but the kids can't do it. So what about getting a job counselor, someone who knows the job market in schools, to give people advice? Expose kids earlier on to wood shop and auto shop and so forth in middle school and high school. And then if their aptitude's there and they want to do something like this, give them a career path through high school, tie in with some public-private thing where they can actually graduate with a degree or a job, right? But then change the Core 24 to make it specific to the kids. If the kids, an AP calendar, Running Start, whatever, great. Let's focus on math and science and English and so forth. But if they are gifted, let's get them in this track and get them graduating, get them making money. Do you know right now an ASC certified mechanic, just a mechanic, makes between $80,000 and $120,000 a year?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So that's obviously I'm passionate about that, but it's something that as a lieutenant governor, you can actually work on, right? Work with education and say, we have to do better for our kids. We are failing them now. We have to give them choice. We have to give them opportunity, and we have to expose them to different things like that. So
I love it. I spoke to Ben Compton for a little while yesterday about this, and he is definitely passionate about making sure we give more opportunities, point people to this trades. There are some amazing jobs out there and from some very talented people, and we definitely need them. So let's jump into a couple questions.
Sure.
We got one from Michelle here. Says, what are your thoughts on the water rights that have been taken? Here in Skagit County, we're not able to develop new property unless we can hook up to city water. This is the link. There's a link to the article. What would you do to fix it? Do you have any thoughts on that, Marty?
Yeah, it's interesting because back in 2016, it was fairly new there, and this had a lot to do with tribal rights up in the area and local rights there, and they were trying to basically give certain land rights more to the tribe, the local tribe up there. So water rights are really important. We saw it with the decision about wells up in Whatcom County and Skagit County as well, and then fought that. And being part of the Realtor Association, you can't build homes if you don't have water.
Yeah,
and so. When we look at land use, land rights, water is like paramount. The old adage by Mark Twain says, right? Water's for drinking. Whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting, right? The idea here is we need to really revamp the whole Growth Management Act and deal with water and allow people to build, but also to allow protection for people to actually have access to water. So it's a big issue.
It is. Well, the GMA definitely is a massive issue. And since you're in real estate, you're quite familiar with it. I've received so many questions over the past several months. What can you do to fix the GMA? And so it's kind of fun to think that we'd have a lieutenant governor that truly knows how to navigate some of those issues and the problems that were created by the legislature many years ago that could be fixed today.
There was 2 years ago in 2018, there was an attempt to modify the GMA. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. It's called the Ruckle House Report. Mm-hmm. The problem is you had so many people, so many chefs in the kitchen. Yeah. And so it was basically taken over sort of by the environmental sort of lobby. And so it hasn't gone anywhere yet because you don't want this to be worse. You want it to be reasonable, smart, and allow for growth in a way that's healthy, right?
Well, you mentioned at the beginning the 200,000 units, I think, that are needed today. I mean, in Spokane alone, there's some 10,000 units that are needed. People need to realize the skyrocketing prices of homes often is it's not often, it is correlated to overregulation here in Washington state. If you overregulate, limit the land that can be built on, obviously it's supply and demand. The prices of homes skyrocket and put things out of people's reach to be able to afford it. And then, of course, exasperates the issue. Now, in order to afford a home, if you live in Seattle, you're living in North Marysville. Mm-hmm. That's where we're at today in Washington State.
Or Fox Island, where I live, because the prices, you have to go farther out. And then you commute to work oftentimes for an hour or 2 hours, and it's getting that way. And a lot of it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. It's a lot size, it's zoning, there's all kinds of solutions, but we have to have leadership that does it. And to your point, like I said earlier, in most residential construction, you're talking about a quarter of the house, 25% of the house price is regulation and red tape. If you reduce that, it costs less to build, more people can get in, affordable housing. It just,
Boy,
it is what it is.
You're singing my tune. I love it. So just want to make a couple quick announcements for us. We're going to have a virtual victory event next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. So hopefully people that are watching right now can jump onto our website or jump to our Facebook page. Of course, you're already on there if you're watching this live, and sign up for that. There's a place to register. We're also doing a t-shirt sale there for We Are Essential, because we believe that we're all essential in Washington State. We're not going to have a governor or lieutenant governor picking winners and losers, but rather we're going to make sure that the Constitution is treated as essential. That's where we stand. But so let's jump to the next question. And what's kind of fun for me is we're just talking about water. I've gone to Kenya several times and been connected with building health center there. I've drilled wells there, providing water. But the gentleman who has led the efforts in a lot of the things I've been doing in Kenya asked a question. So Ben Sturchuk, what criteria should be used to determine how to reopen the economy in Washington State? Do you have some thoughts on what criteria should be used?
It's funny watching the ones that were the businesses like grocery stores that were deemed essential, right? Of course, again, you have a governor picking, what is and what is not. Bottom line, there's a fundamental difference in thought for those that typically are Republican versus those that are Democrat. I'm not doing a broad brush, but in general, we trust people to make good choices, right? And then we trust but verify. The whole idea here is we should be able to allow our businesses to come up with ways to be safe, to protect their customers, to do business in a way, and they're smart. They're innovative. They can do these things. And this is where we should start off versus saying, no, you won't do it right. We're going to mandate a certain way. That's always the wrong way. Government does nothing well, and so the way we start opening up is saying, what do you have? What plans are in place? And partly today to open up. If you follow these rules, yeah, we're good. Go ahead and open back up, making sure that things are in place. But we have to trust the businesses to innovate to do it. I saw a Safeway, and whether I like it or not, the point is they had one-way shopping down the aisles. They had glass shields over the cash register. I'm like, see, that's smart. They weren't mandated to do that. They were just like, let's do this. I'm like, okay, there we go. It's a way for small business or big business to innovate and make sure we're safe.
Yeah. For me, Ben, we were texting each other a couple of days ago. The gentleman who just asked this question. It shouldn't be non-essential and essential. It should be safe or unsafe, right? Everyone needs to work. We want to work. We enjoy our work, especially today. If you haven't been working for a month, you're like, okay, I want to go to work. I love my job today. I want it back. So let's just deem it safe or unsafe. And I think every business can find a way, like you're saying, Marty, to make it safe again, for sure. So, all right, let's jump to the next one. It's my personal observation that too much money is going to administration and bureaucracy. More dollars need to go to the schools and programs themselves. Thoughts?
Okay. I won't take the whole show on this, but this is another one of those passionate things I want to work on. And you're absolutely correct. I'll give an anecdote first, and then I'll talk about solutions to it. You know that every one of our state agencies, basically they're paid for by taxpayer dollars, right? They're given rules writing authority. They write their own rules. And I don't agree with that completely, but most of them will actually hire a lobbyist who's paid for by our taxpayer dollars to lobby legislators who are paid for with our taxpayer dollars to grow the agency. But there's nothing in there about delivering service to the customer, the citizens who actually use the services. That's got to change. There's got to be some accountability in place where the money is actually tied to. Now, also, we've been told multiple times across the board, pass this marijuana tax, it goes to schools, and then it gets diverted. Pass the lotto tax, and it goes to schools, and it gets diverted. Oh, timber tax, and then we don't use the timber. We shut down the timber industry. That's got to change. Every dedicated fund that is sold to the public for a dedicated purpose has to be used for that purpose. But an idea here, for every state agency has a budget. This is the weirdest thing. Federal agencies are the same way. At the end of the cycle, their fiscal cycle, their fiscal year, if they don't spend every dime, they lose it, right? So they find a way at the end of the quarter to spend money, which is the most insane thing I've ever seen. Everybody knows it's dumb, so why not pass legislation saying you can't lose it no matter what? It's fixed. Every year we budget for a budget anyway. Your budget is this, whether you spend it or not. But if you don't spend it, whatever is left over, a percentage of it can roll over. A percentage of it can be tied directly to schools or whatever your pet project is. And a small percentage will go back to the employees that found ways to innovate and make it more cost friendly. There you're incentivizing good behavior across state agencies versus incentivizing bad behavior.
Yeah, right now we definitely are incentivizing bad behavior. And the budget continues to increase. Under Jay Inslee, the budget's increased by 60%. Taxes have increased by billions of dollars. It's unbelievable. Just last year, 2.7 billion, 17% increase just last year. And now, boy, there's going to be drastic cuts that come. I mean, can you imagine if the Democrat majority tries to pass tax increases right now? I think that people might go into utter revolt. All right, so Chris has a question for us. If Seattle implements their head tax, will there be plans to push modification of GMA that will allow Amazon and other businesses to move out and spread out into more business-friendly communities? I know for me there would be. I want to make sure that we're keeping Amazon. I don't want to see what happened prior that Boeing actually moved out of our state because they could not find an environment that was friendly to business. And then Amazon was looking for their second headquarters. And the environment in Washington state for business has been very difficult. You think about specifically small business. The first bill that Jay Inslee signed coming out of the legislature this year, it was an increase to the B&O. And for folks that are not familiar with it, B&O is a business and occupation tax, and it's a gross tax. So if you're selling a bottle of water for $1, but it costs you $1.25 to make, and you're losing money on that, you still get taxed on the gross. That's Washington state. And I believe that's why small businesses struggles. And you can see where the big businesses like Boeing, they all went back to work. And we see some of these ones that are considered essential. Yet hairdressers, landscapers who don't have powerful lobbyists in Olympia, they're considered non-essential under Jay Inslee's Washington. So we can't just favor the powerful and well-connected. We make sure that everyone has a seat at the table. What are your thoughts, Marty?
We know, well, a few years ago, you had the governor of Idaho reach out to local businesses all across the nation saying, come to Idaho, we'll cut your taxes. And we know when these businesses come in, they hire employees, they make good money, they buy houses. They, for every house bought, it provides 17, basically positions or 17 taxpayer dollars, in the state. It pays for 17 employees, what I'm trying to say. It's crazy, that we're so top heavy in this regard. So, if you actually promote business friendliness, if you allow businesses to come in, actually make sure they're profitable, we have a lot more spending. We have a lot more revenue coming in. We don't have to put more burdens on. We can actually solve the issues that we're facing and much more easy in partnership with. And back to the trades there. What if we actually had a working relationship where we actually reduced taxes so they hired more, but then we said, you know what, you are desperate for tech workers. Why not you build a tech center or a center of excellence? We'll send the kids there. You send the employees to train them. And then they can basically graduate to job, win-win for the state and for the companies like that. Come on.
Oh, right. Totally. I love where you're going on that. I mean, think about during this whole pandemic time, when the month that we've been home, the supply chain issues that we've had here in Washington state. Why not invite in Amazon to the table and say, hey, we got some supply thing. Can you just help us out here for the next week or two to figure a few of these things out? Or when the Department of Health's data center went down and we're left without data for a period of time, how about you call in Microsoft or something saying, can you help us out with our technology? We're struggling here at the state. We have the most innovative minds in the world here in Washington.
And we're not using them.
Think about the access in schools we could provide.
I mean, the partnership would be fantastic, but the bottom line, basically any economy needs good workforce. If we don't have a qualified, certified, equipped workforce, we're in trouble, right? Well, we could partner together. And the problem, like you said, we're not accessing the tools and the resources we have out there. We're just kind of mandating from a government standpoint. And they're trying to basically survive in the state. People have moved here. Many companies, big companies have moved here because we don't have an income tax. But all the other regulation and taxes are going, maybe that wasn't the best idea. So we need to really think about it.
Yeah, amen. All right, so everyone who's been jumping online, thank you so much. We're going to do a little raffle at the end of this. Marty, every week we draw a raffle or two. We buy gift certificates for a couple local restaurants around here. And so at the end, we'll be drawing people's names who stuck here to the end and give them a couple gift certificates. So got a question. Oh, and then, of course, for folks who just jumped on, we're here with Marty McClendon, who's running for Lieutenant Governor in Washington State. I'm super excited about it. Very highly qualified. As you listen, you'll experience the same truth that I know. So, all right. So Jesse Greening, Marty, you're entering a crowded field of candidates, most notably soon to be former Congressman Denny Heck. What do you think are the clear differences between you two, and how are you going to combat the name recognition when campaigning? What do you think are Heck's biggest motivation to run for the position? So there's a few questions. Take what you will.
Okay. And for those that don't know, it is a crowded field. It was a crowded field in 2016. I knew I was clearly going to win because I had a clear message that I was the only conservative in the race. And of course, the most liberal lefty would get through. Cyrus Habib did. In this race, Denny Heck is a retiring congressman. He said he had enough. Basically he's done his all. And then Cyrus Habib steps down. Denny Heck said, hey, I'm going to apply for that. He's on record saying that if he wins, and of course, if Inslee gets reelected and Biden gets elected, those are all big ifs all across the board, right, that he would take a EPA appointment in the cabinet, and then Denny Heck would be governor, but he would only serve one term. So we know clearly what he's trying to do. And my point is, even though he's got name ID, he's still another DC politician, a Democrat politician. He's still a lifelong career guy. He's still on record for having impeached Donald Trump. He's still the guy that withheld the Paycheck Protection Program to put money for the Kennedy Center and all the other things. So he's still playing games with people's lives. And we can use that against him. And the bottom line is, in this state, when you have one party control for 35 years, we really have to pose the question, like Donald Trump did to inner city neighborhoods. What do you have to lose? Yeah. Give us a shot. Right now you're oppressed. If you give us a chance, things will change. When we have a surplus, we will give it back to you. We actually have a plan for those things versus actually raising and putting more burdens on him. And when it comes back to your education, right? He's going to do the same thing, be funded by the teachers union and so forth, and do the same thing we've had since World War II versus saying, let's do something different so our kids win and the generations from now on will actually get better, not stay the same. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think of Denny Heck has been pushing during the payment plan you just mentioned in Congress. We have Boeing here, the largest aircraft manufacturer in the world. When they were trying to make some low carbon fuel standards by 2025 in order to pass that stimulus bill,
right?
What would that have done to Boeing? Who's already having struggles right now, who's already looking for help from the government. I mean, that would have been just catastrophic for our industry.
You have to look at it right now too. For the last 3 sessions, the current majority, Democrat majority, have been pushing gas taxes on your heating oil, home heating oil, income tax, carbon tax, a capital gains tax, you name it. At the same time, they're trying to put more regulations, trying to remove the dams on the lower Columbia and the Snake River dams, which is clean power. I mean, what happens when you remove those sources of power? Energy prices go up to the people that can't afford it the least. And so this is the party we're up against. So we have the solutions, and it really is, we can beat them because, what you get, and it's more of the same, and the same's not working. So it's time for a change and vote for Republican. So
I like that. Yeah, I mean, Jay Inslee spent $750,000 last year in a study to remove the dams on Snake River. That provides clean energy to 800,000 homes. The water coming from those dams waters the fields and the orchards in Eastern Washington. And those agriculturists in Eastern Washington, we literally feed the world. It's a driving force to our economy. So clearly he is not the green governor.
You don't think about it, obviously, since FDR back in the day, but with Grand Coulee Dam and Rocky Reach and all the dams along the river, right? That was desert. Nothing grew there. But through irrigation, the project over there, it is really the basket of the world with apples and wheat and wine and you name it. And it would devastate that, right? With power and the use. Sometimes you wonder, are you smoking something? I don't know. Just make sure, don't destroy our economy. Leave us alone, right? So
they might be smoking something, because something that was considered essential over the last 4 weeks is you're able to go to a pot shop and buy marijuana, but yet you can't go pray with your pastor, your mom, or your priest. That's definitely off limits. Go into a store where 50 to 100 people have been that day. I just drove by one last night. There was a line of 8 people out front at 9 o'clock at night. Yet if you're feeling an anxiety and want to go pray with your spiritual leader, Jay Inslee says, no, that's off the table. Unbelievable. All right, so John,
go ahead. I want to thank you for doing that. I want to talk more about that too. Thank you for filing the lawsuit. The night before, I was talking to my pastor, and he was frustrated. And he organized about 200 pastors across the state to send a letter saying, you cannot deem us unessential. You can't even allow us to conduct a virtual service like we normally would do. And it seems like, no, that's unconstitutional. once again, churches should be allowed to meet and say, we can develop ways to keep our congregation safe so we can pray one-on-one. It's just, we got to trust people. Yeah.
Yeah, not even two or more cannot gather. Like,
right.
Marty, if you want to go to meet together at a church and just be alone in there, not allowed, too dangerous. But go to Walmart, go to Home Depot, go buy your marijuana. You know, you can even today in Washington, you can go meet with your financial advisor in an office, an 8-by-8-foot office if you want. You can go meet with your stockbroker. So that's why I waited for weeks in order to bring this suit. I was looking and saying, I'm running against Jay Inslee. I just want to focus on our campaign. Somebody else is obviously going to bring this suit because it's clearly unconstitutional. Now, if Jay Inslee said we're in a pandemic, we all need to stay home, like everyone.
Right.
And that's different. That makes the case a little more challenging, right? I still think there is a case there. But in Proclamation 2025, at the beginning, the Stay Home, Stay Safe order, he said everyone needs to stay home for any social, religious, or recreational reasons. Nobody can meet of any number.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
What?
So people ask clarifications, yet as I said, you can go meet with your stockbroker or your financial advisor, but you can't go meet with your pastor alone in a church somewhere to pray or study the Bible or the Torah or the Quran. Like,
in real estate, even when they he made an exception later on, released things where you can go in with like one agent and one person. You can't do that with the church. Why? Why this? I mean, literally putting a red line around, religious organizations you can't meet. That is wrong. I mean, it just is. So
we believe in a separation of church and state. I would never think it would be right for a government to say everyone must become this religion. I mean, that's clearly at the same time, government can't say what you can do in your church. That's clearly wrong.
Our First Amendment is very clear. Bottom line is you shall not, right? But even there, though, the misnomer, we have a whole new show for this too, separation of church and state. That is not in the Constitution, by the way. It was designed not to have a federal church like the Church of England. The states have the right to do what they want to do. In fact, 11 of the first 13 colonies actually had a state church. You had to be a Protestant or you had to be a Methodist, or you had to be whatever to run for office, because they wanted people of good moral character to serve the citizens. And so that was their gauge. And so we've missed the whole boat. And I think there's something there where we really need to be engaged. We really do want people of good moral character voting for us, serving us, right? Listening. And I think we have a problem with that. So
I mean, people of faith feel responsible to God, right? I mean, ultimately you feel responsible. So there's a higher authority over you to kind of is directing your
think about this. And for those that, obviously I'm Christian, you're Christian, but the Bible says that go into all the world and preach the good news, right? It doesn't say all the world but politics. It says all the world, right? And you would think that people of any type of faith would want to draw on wisdom from, basically for making decisions that affect people's lives. Yes. Whether it be the homeless issue or drug addiction or whatever, compassion comes from a place. That didn't come from us, right?
Yes. So yes. Well, 67% of Washingtonians believe that religion is important. So clearly a majority, and 80 to 85% believe in God or a higher power. Mm-hmm. So it seems right that we have that right to talk to a friend or pastor, priest, or imam about what we believe. And yet Jay Inslee wants to take that away. That's changing. So, John, and we filed that suit just to maybe wrap up and put a bow on that. Filed the suit 2 days ago. We will ask for a temporary restraining order. We'll be moving forward with that on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. The AG, Bob Ferguson, has already filed his appearance in court. So we're going to be taking on Jay Inslee and Bob Ferguson at the same time. And Bob Ferguson's going to have to stand up there and try to defend his buddy Inslee with something that's clearly unconstitutional. Good luck. The whole state's watching.
So it makes you wonder too, does Bob have time for that? He's so busy suing the president and trying to stop these things and suing flower shops and all those that are trying to express their faith in the First Amendment. So he's got experience attacking people in the First Amendment, but I don't know. I just think that maybe he needs to go somewhere else as well. So
we're working on that. A few people from a few different sides. So John Alexander says, we're seeing a few of your competitors' signs in the Wenatchee area. How can we get freed signs? I can tell you that we are planning a statewide tour. We're going to be starting in May. And so we're going to be hitting all 39 counties over a 14-day period. It's going to be epic. But we're going to be dropping off signs. We've already had thousands right now sitting in my garage. We got 4x8s. We've got the small yard signs. So we're going to have ample signs going up all around the state. They're going to be popping up like the Mayflowers. It's pretty exciting.
That's exciting. Yeah.
All right. So Marty, what are some issues you're running on? Oh, we talked about that one, I think, already. So we did. Cool. So onward and upward. I'm going to see if there's any more questions here on the screen.
As we're talking about, another one of those things that we haven't touched on yet, and of course, in the middle of COVID, no one's thinking about it. But as the summer months come, we're going to be talking about forest fires again. One of those things is forest management. It's always an issue. When you talk about the environment, it's the biggest carbon factor anywhere when released and when we have forest fires. There's the national, there's the state, and there's the private. We need to do a comprehensive coalition working with the Commissioner of Public Lands as well, but to make sure we manage those forests better. It makes sense and allow us to be in the forest. There's too many opportunities on the peninsula where they're trying to shut down the forest. We can't even hike them. We love being out in the outdoors. We should be allowed to do there, and we should maintain them in a way. So basically that means logging, that means trimming, that means getting out the underbrush so that we actually manage them wisely.
Totally true. I've been, as you know, before this, traveling the state and going around meeting a lot of different people. But when you go down to Grays Harbor area or anywhere on the peninsula, people are mentioning about how the trails they used to go on, trees are just, they're fallen, and it looks like some of them are cut. They're actually blocking the trails. And so the government's not wanting us to go enjoy these areas that you and I pay for and everyone else in Washington state with our tax dollars. They're preventing our enjoyment of these beautiful areas. And it's interesting during the pandemic. Do you want to comment on that?
No, it's one of those things where they think we always have this, well, not we, the Democrats typically have this, we're doing the good thing for the environment. But when we don't cut trees, we create this fire tinderbox and we buy trees from somewhere else, which means they're being shipped over, which means the carbon footprint, the environmental impact is much greater on both ends, not only the fire hazard, but the shipping in of the natural product. We grow 14 million board feet of tree every year in surplus. We should be smartly timber and putting that industry back in place, using the money for schools like they're supposed to, and being wise so we don't have the big forest fires.
We can manage our forest like a crop, right? And we can honor the environment while we do so. You and I strongly believe with our faith that we have a responsibility to care for the environment. But in that, the forest can be a crop. I challenge people who don't think any trees should ever be cut down. Where are they going to live? Look around them right now as they're listening to this or maybe reading the paper in their hand. I mean, we build homes and apartments and every structure people live in with wood. And so
you think about this too. Picture a sponge, right? A sponge, you squeeze it, you put it in water and it fills up. Once it's filled up, you can't hold it anymore. Trees are that way too. When they get to a certain age, there's no more carbon they can capture. So when you make the houses, it's still captured. Young, brand new trees capture all the carbon. So selectively harvesting and replanting is the best way for the environment.
Yeah, and that's the earth is taking care of itself. And we have a role, obviously. But okay, Rob says, you guys have thoughts on a dilemma with mental illness in Washington state. Definitely, I have some thoughts. I mean, in July 2018, Western State Hospital was decertified by the Fed. So they gave Jay Inslee years of warnings that Western State Hospital, our main mental health hospital in Washington state, was dangerous for those receiving care as well as the caregivers. So they came in July 2018. They wrote a 70-page report about the dangers there, incidents that have occurred. And the certification was removed by the feds. And now $54 million a year in annual funding has been withheld by the federal government. I'm telling you today, we could definitely use those funds. Now 30% of the homeless in our state is struggling from unaddressed mental health issues. And so the most vulnerable among us are left to live under the streets or underneath overpasses or in parks surrounded by garbage and needles because Jay Inslee has not taken our mental care system properly. Kind of like he's definitely underfunded public health. Right. I mean, dismally underfunded public health in the name of more money for Planned Parenthood today. But what are your thoughts?
Even before this, Inslee was warned about the conditions in the Western State Hospital. And mental health has been an issue for over a decade right now, and it's gotten worse. And they had these institutions that they closed down across the state and said it's better for people to be taken care of by their family. But oftentimes these are dangerous. Oftentimes it's expensive, and it's why they end up on the street. That's why they end up drug addicted, because no one can care for them. Yeah. And it's just every high school I went to around the state in 2016 said we desperately need a mental health counselor in every school. I mean, the kids are dealing with it. There's so much more stress with the drugs. So yeah, we have an epidemic here, but we need to restore not only the care in hospitals, but we need to restore places where the people aren't safe. The family can't take care of them. And we need to equip people that are and can do it. And then for your point too, on the homeless and the drug addict and so forth, there is a good section, a third of them on the street that if they got mental health care, they wouldn't be on the street anymore.
Oh,
right.
Totally.
And then so there needs to be a triage where mental health, you want it, we'll give it to you. We'll get you back on your feet. Drug addictive, you want to get off, we'll get you treatment and get you off the street. Otherwise, then the ones that actually truly want to be there, that don't want help. Okay, then you can't do it here, right?
You're not allowed.
There's compassion, but
freeways. Yeah. Well, true compassion is what you're describing right now. It's not to let them live under a tarp underneath the freeway surrounded by garbage and needles. True compassion is you're ruining your life and you're going to go to this inpatient treatment if you're cooking heroin on our sidewalks. That's it. Under the Freed Administration, you're going to go to jail, or you're going to go to one of our new Pathways to Recovery Center, which is a public-private partnership where we're going to use underutilized government facilities like McNeil Island or Evergreen State College and use nonprofits to come in and actually provide the people-on-people treatment. That's the pathway forward. But all right,
I love that your pathways to my education, for the trades and expanding exposure. It's called Pathways to Success for all our kids, right? So it's kind of funny. So
pathways. Well, that's vision, right? That's what's necessary in Washington State is actually a vision and pathway forward, which is why I think we've been so disappointed with Jay Inslee, especially on Tuesday night. He tweeted out at 4:00, hey, I'm going to talk about the recovery plan and moving forward. 5:00, we tune in and we're like, where's the plan? We just hear words about plan. I'm going to do a plan. There's going to be a plan, but no plan. So.
We all laugh about this, whether it be a meme or on Facebook or social media, whatever, when it says, we're going to form a committee to talk about the solution, to figure things out. No, we want things done. Any business-minded person or any logical person will say, where do we want to go? Right. How do we get there? What are the benchmarks along the way to measure if what we're doing is actually working? That's the way we should be working in government too. Where do we want to go? What's the method? Where do we measure? Are we getting closer? If we're not, we're going to retool and find out if that's working, right?
Concrete plans, concrete vision, which is why 4 weeks ago I came out with calling on a special session, 5 different points that could give immediate relief to taxpayers. Then I said, all right, we need a recovery plan right now, an economic plan to move Washington forward. 5 simple points that could be focused on. And then just this week, focused on 5 points for education. And everybody can go see them on our website at freedforgovernor.com. By the way, what's your website? You want to let people know?
I sure will. It's electmarty.com. Pretty straightforward, electmarty.com. I'll have the education plan on there, and we're working on getting all the other details up there. But great little donate button there, too. It's a great place to go.
Yeah, we definitely need money, and raising money during the stay-at-home has been an interesting situation, I think, for everyone.
Like you said, if we have 600,000 to 1 million people filing for unemployment, money's tight. Money's tight anyway. And so any amount helps, but we understand what they're fighting for. And it's why we're running. Because we really want to make a difference for the people in Washington and for the generations to come. And we know we can do it with help. So
now more than ever. And I believe this is the opportunity we've been waiting for 35 years to have this real opportunity where Jay Inslee has a negative 57% disapproval across the state. Mm-hmm. Like your victory, you won 38 of 39 counties. He has a negative job rating in 38 of 39 counties. Only King County supports him today. Pretty wild. This is an easy answer for me, maybe more difficult for you because it might be completely wrong when you answer it, but Batman versus Captain America. Clearly
Captain America. Come on,
buddy. All right. So, Joshua, we got a question here from John. For your information, we are currently involved in the petition effort to support Referendum 90 in our area. Yeah. Awesome. We have until we're asking for people to turn in their signatures by June 1st. Actually, folks, if you're at home right now, please go to parentsforsafeschools.com, sign up to get your petitions. We're going to mail these out. We've already been mailing them out this week. And Referendum 90 is to repeal what happened this year during session, the House went at 2:08 in the morning, and they had their debate on the floor. And while the debate is going on, at the bottom of the screen, TVW says, warning, content of explicit material, like warning to adults at 2 in the morning. Well, this comprehensive sex education is to teach comprehensive sex to 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. So anywhere from kindergarten to 12th grade, we're now indoctrinating our kids at these young ages. And now they want to have Planned Parenthood in middle schools as the health professionals, and then let 13-year-old girls get abortions without the parents knowing. That's what's happening in Washington state today. And that's frustrating for the vast majority of people in Washington who want to make sure their kids or their grandkids or their neighbors' kids are kept safe from this kind of dangerous content. What are your thoughts on that, Marty?
I would agree 100%. Obviously, the R90 is a start, but we need to stop this onslaught on attack on our kids. When they're talking about even pre-K, going into daycare centers and teaching this stuff, they have this Welcome to Washington Baby Act. It didn't pass, but they want to do home visits for people to homeschool, people to daycare, whatever. And no, this is the onslaught. And then this right here. This comprehensive sex education is not just like a class that you can opt out on. It's across all subjects. They're talking about it in history and biology and science and sociology and whatever. So you can't escape it. On top of that, they have the lesson plans. Like fourth graders are talking about role play on same-sex couples trying to how to ask for a date or to use certain toys. This is vile. And this is being pushed on our kids by one party in the middle of the night because they know if it was put to the people, we would say no. But even R90, we have to pass it, get it back, repeal this. But there's been this onslaught for years now, like you said, about putting a clinic in the school, not having parental consent for abortion, for bringing them in and having counseling and saying it's okay to pick a gender or whatever. We should be involved as parents. We should be able to opt into something, not opt out of something. There's so many things. And then oftentimes as a Christian and as a politician, they're always talking to me about, you shouldn't be legislating your values. I'm not, but I am going to push back against legislating immorality and what they're doing right now. They're trying to, like you said, condition our kids for something that is against what their family believes in.
Yeah, I mean, as whether you're pro-life or some people obviously pro-abortion, I have to think that you're going to say, all right, a 13-year-old kid getting an abortion without a parent knowing, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. I just got to think vast majority.
If a young person at 18 is not wise and mature enough to own a firearm in our state, right? But they're wise and mature enough to make decisions that affect their entire life, for an abortion or sex change, whatever. There's a disconnect there in logic. And so either young people are mature enough to vote or they're not, right? And so that's where parents come in. There's been a severing of the parental authority in many of our kids' lives in the public system, and we need to restore some of that.
Oh, totally true. You mentioned that how the content of the comprehensive sex ed goes in all the different subjects. And you heard the argument on the floor that night. They're saying, well, parents can opt or have their kids opt out. But then there was an amendment that was trying to be pushed forward that said, let the student opt out. And there's a Democrat House member, Cortez, I think was her name. She said, no, these kids' minds don't develop until age 20. They don't have the knowledge that they should be opting out. Oh my gosh, if the minds don't develop until age 20, why are we letting them make decisions, adult decisions at age 12? Things are upside down.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. So let's see a couple other questions here. I just lost my spot. Do you have events coming up that people can attend, Marty?
We don't yet, but we will. Obviously, we just jumped in on Friday. We're getting all the websites up. Now we're running, getting the content out there, but we will be broadcasting it out. You can check us out on Facebook. It's Vote for Marty on Facebook. And of course, our website will have all the details, but very, very soon. Oh, take that back. Actually, I just thought about it. On next Wednesday, I believe it is, Dave McMullen, the chair of the Pierce County Republican Party, is doing a Zoom with the chairman. So I'm doing that one. So you can watch me online again. Yeah.
Oh, good. Get ready for his questions. He'll throw you a curveball that day.
Right.
All right. Well, for me, I'm doing an event on Tuesday night at 6, a virtual victory. And actually, if you sign up today, before midnight, we're going to throw in one of those We Are All Essential t-shirts. So sign up and we'll make sure that gives it to you. All right. So we're getting close to drawing names for gift cards. Send this link to your friends and family so they can join and win. So Add some more people to this. So we're going to ask a couple lightning round questions here. It's time for lightning round questions with Marty
Is there
McClendon.
music? Come on, is there music?
If I have my phone ready to go.
Right.
Beard or goatee? Well,
It's a beard. Yeah.
Yeah. Truck or smart car? Well, I can answer that question
Truck.
for you.
Yes.
He's got a bright red, beautiful big truck. You'll see him coming around the state. There is no avoiding Marty McClendon. He's coming.
Well, I've had bottom line, I like cars. So I've had cars of every type and stripe. I tend to be more of a GM guy. I have a Ford truck, but I've had convertibles and hot rods and BMW, you name it, but I like cars. So there you go.
Yeah, that's cool. How about Starbucks or Mercury's? You ever
Never
had
been to
Mercury's
Mercury's.
coffee?
No.
Wonderful. Yeah, they're really good. Kind of a
Okay.
local one. So I take it Starbucks since you don't.
Well, of the two choices there, but I'm over here in the Fox Islands. So we have Cutter's Point, which is fantastic. We've got Cafe Elite, which is wonderful as well. And we've got, of course, Dutch Brothers not too far away. So
That's cool. All right. Relaxing vacation or jam-packed itinerary?
For me, a jam-packed itinerary, but my wife likes the relaxing part. So we kind of do both. Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite things is actually to be by a pool on vacation, but be working. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like it's
I don't
fun to
think
be there.
As a real estate agent for the last 21 years in management and whatever, I don't know if we've had a vacation where I'm not doing some kind of work by the pool or wherever we're at to my kids' unhappiness, but still, yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. All right. So last question. This is from Ben Sturchek, my good friend, who does amazing work in Kenya. He leads every year. He leads for an entire whole month. Students, nursing students, and they go to multiple different places in Kenya and they lead health clinics. And so they have hundreds of people come and just give free healthcare to it. So he's got a great heart of service, and I've learned a lot from this good man. So could you address the tracing and tracking issue as it pertains to rights to privacy and confidentiality?
Obviously a big issue. This is scary when it comes to, there was a special a couple years ago where they tracked the phone. They turned it off, took the SIM card off, and they went around town. And then when they turned it back on, all the information of where you went was uploaded. So the information they have right now through the Patriot Act and so forth is really, it's stolen our constitutional rights when it comes to surveillance. This idea that I understand in the name of safety, but we're losing these things. The idea that people can know if you are exposed, they can track everybody that you've been exposed to in a short period of time. That's Big Brother. That's really scary. I mean, I once again, I trust people. If you're exposed, you know who you've been around, to notify them. Even in our business, we'll notify if we've shown a property or whatever. That's scary when you have government saying, we know who you are, who you've been around, and we're going to quarantine you now. No thanks. We have to do better.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Wow. Well, this has been a fun discussion. We've had over 100 people on, so actually we're going to draw for a couple gift cards. And so I'm waiting to find out what our gift cards are, but I do have a bowl just to prove that we have some real names. We're writing them all down. So the first one is to Irene. So my staff is addicted to Irene's Thai food here in Woodinville. So hopefully the folks that we're drawing, we're giving away a gift card to Irene's Thai food. They have the most incredible yellow veggie curry, 5-star, extremely hot. All right. So the first one is Mr. Kevin Klein. I love it. So Kevin, congratulations. Thank you so much for jumping on board. And the man with the hat in a profile picture, as I recall. All right, so the second one is a gift card to the Bine and Bothell. This is one of my wife and my favorite places. Lindy and I have been married for 23 years. We have 5 kids, and Lindy and I always know that it's important to go on a date once every week. And so for 23 years, we've definitely been committed to that. You're married, you have kids. Want to share a little?
Yep. I was just going to say on May 6th, less than a few weeks from now, we'll celebrate our 20-year anniversary. So lovely wife. We've got 3 kids, a son and 2 daughters. And our daughters now are senior and junior in high school. So we're almost empty nesters. It's crazy as they're doing college visits. And my senior, she's like, whatever, but during the whole lockdown. My junior, though, on 2 cheer teams, into school senator, she's going nuts. So it's crazy. So,
Well, that's amazing. So you'll have a lot of time for those late nights down Olympia.
There you go. Yep.
We're going to have a lot of work to do after so much bureaucracy that needs to be addressed in Olympia, and people who have been left behind and not had a seat at the table. There's a lot of work that we're going to do together to turn some things around. I could think about the 57,000 pages of regulations that's putting this massive burden on small businesses today. People don't even realize, I don't think we all realize truly how limited we are to make sure that we can move our economy forward. And there's some exciting things we're going to do. All right, so talking about economy, the last one is For the Vine, and it's Ben Sturchuk.
There we go.
That's unreal. That's awesome. And look, I had everyone's name written in here. How fun is that? So thanks for asking the questions and thanks for joining. But Marty,
yes, sir.
God bless you, my friend.
Josh,
I'm excited for the year that's ahead.
Me too.
Oh, 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm just be sure to send us a private message with your address so we know where to send it. So for those folks, for Kevin and Ben, if you mind to send a private message, then we can make sure that we send it. And for anyone who's online right now, if you want to be added to mine or Marty's mailing list, please just send us a private message as well. I know you could probably go to Marty's website and sign up. What is your website again, Marty?
It's electmarty.com. Pretty straightforward.
Very straightforward and freed for governor. But thank you, everybody who joined us. And Marty, thank you so much. We're going to have a lot more of these conversations around the state. I know it.
I look forward to it. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a good weekend, friends.
You too.